The Chief Justice will be arriving in Cape Town shortly this afternoon. And as part of the preparation for tomorrow and Saturday, he will conduct the swearing in of retaining officers. Firstly, the Chief Retaining Officer being the Secretary to Parliament, and of course assisted by the Secretary of the Secretaries of the both houses and the other officials who will be participating and working on the voting process that will be unfolding in both houses. Thank you very much, STP. We have just circulated the remarks that the STP was making on in the WhatsApp group. Those who are not, I hope that all of us were on the WhatsApp group, and those who are not, we will use other channels, emails, MailChimp, to distribute that statement. Thank you very much. Can we then take questions? I'm going to start. These are just mention your name and then the house, media house that you are coming from. And then there is a roving mic starting from this side. So I will take it. How many hands are up now? Starting from yourself, and then you will be the second one. You will be the fourth. You will be the fifth. So those will constitute the first round. Okay? In that order. Thank you.
Good afternoon, STP. Maloto Paul Vecchiato from Bloomberg. Can you just give us an idea of the timing for everything? So I believe the National Assembly sittings starts at about 10 o'clock tomorrow. How long will the swearing in take? What time do you expect the presidential election to happen? And then for Saturday mornings, what time will the NCOP? This is for planning purposes. Thank you.
Hi, STP. My name is Bulelani from SABC. Just for clarity, what is the quorum for tomorrow's sitting, and what will happen to members who do not come for the swearing in? Thanks.
My question was something similar, but also wanted to ask if those members who do not attend tomorrow, who do perhaps miss the swearing in, will they still be considered to be members of Parliament, and would there be provisions for them to do their swearing in ceremony later, or to do it by alternative means? Lady 76. Thank you.
And number 4.
Yes, thank you, SCP. Linda Ensor from Business Day. I'd just like to find out what security arrangements have been made in the light of, in the past, there's been a lot of rowdiness, storming of the podium. What security presence will there be in the hall on the day? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Atim Tana from Newsroom and RT, respectively. I just want to ask, in terms of the guests that are going to be present, do you have any international delegates? Do you have any leaders from within the continent and outside of Africa? And just perhaps if you could go through also the dignitaries that will be from within South Africa. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I think that will be the first round. Just switch off the mic so that we don't have many mics on. Like I said, the Secretary to Parliament wears many caps in terms of this constitutional procedure that we'll be following in the two houses. And one of those chief caps that he's wearing is a Chief Retaining Officer. So I will allow him to come and deal with the questions, and the other questions that maybe he will not be able to deal with, he will refer them to the secretaries of the houses. STP?
Thank you very much, Paul. How long will it take to conclude the business of tomorrow, and in particular, the timelines for the election of the President-elect of the Republic? There is an order of business for tomorrow that would be read by the Chief Justice in terms of guidance for conducting the business of tomorrow. As I've outlined, in terms of the election of office bearers, the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, and then thereafter the process for the election of the President. In the timelines we have, the sitting is starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow, promptly, and we envisage that by 2 p.m. the process for the nominations and elections for the President of the Republic will take place. So I use the word we envisage precisely because if something involves voting and other related matters, we need to make sure that we could anticipate. That must also factor in possibility of a lunch hour for the session to be suspended so that the session can then resume after. But as per our plan, it is scheduled for 2 o'clock. Bulelani, what is the quorum for tomorrow? The quorum is outlined in section 53 of the Constitution that says for any decisions of Parliament pertaining to passing of bills and other matters, the majority of members of Parliament constitute a quorum. It says any other questions shall be decided on a quorum of 1/3 of members present. So 1/3 of members present constitute a quorum for tomorrow. That is 1/3 of 400 members of Parliament. So that's the minimum threshold you need to have to be able to quorate, to conduct the business of the House in a duly constituted forum. The issue of swearing in of members, all members will be sworn in tomorrow. Those who have been accredited, who are present, have shown up. We have a list of gazetted members that will be sworn in tomorrow. And for members who have not arrived for swearing in, the door is not closed. So at a date determined again, it may be done by Chief Justice, it may be done by a designated judge, by the Chief Justice, to swear in other members at a subsequent date. So as and when those members shall present themselves, they will be sworn in. What security arrangements have been made with regards to the conducting of the business of the day? The rules as set by the Chief Justice govern the proceedings, and any other processes that he shall determine and communicate in the proceedings shall guide that. And Parliament has got its own internal management processes that normally gets present and operational to assist the proper sittings of the chamber and also guidance in the proceedings of the House. So that overall infrastructure is in place and will be activated accordingly at the direction of the presiding officer and or the speaker. Arti, outside Africa and elsewhere, there is SONA, there is also the first sitting of a house. And we usually don't extend to many esteemed foreign dignitaries on these events, except people who would be designated guests to be able to attend that, be they come from the other arms of the state, be they come from various institutions, organs of state, and so on. So I am not sure of a agent of dignitaries coming, But my colleagues, if as we update the schedules of confirmation, should that be part of any of our colleagues will confirm that development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think you've dealt with all the questions, STP. The only international guest that we have, I think, will be international members of the international media. We have got local guests who are members of the media who will be operating here. We've got a guest of the new members of parliament. We've got also the representatives of stakeholders that we've been working with in terms of the facilitation of these two important sittings. I think we'll get the next round and probably the last. So if you can use this opportunity and take advantage of it, because it might not come again. I will give priority to those who have not asked, and then I will give others who want second take. You will be the first, and then you will be the second. You will be the fourth. Why is Kaya FM standing this side? You want to make your presence felt. You are welcome. And then, where's the other hand? Are you the third or the fourth? No, I can only make such a determination whether you are the last or not. But I think you are the fourth, the fifth hand? Okay. Yeah, in that order.
Secretary George Wendell from Reuters, could you just give us a sense of how the voting will unfold practically? If there's more than one sort of candidate eligible who will be voted on, let's say if it's for the Speaker, for the President, for the Deputy Speaker, does the Chief Justice read out the votes, or does he just announce the winner? Does he, for example, say, you know, the winner is X and he's got Y amount of votes, and second place got X amount of votes? Will it be done like that? Thank you.
Okay, the second hand.
And this is Mike Kinana from the Sunday Times. I would like to confirm whether Parliament did indeed cancel arrangements for MK Party MPs, or is that door still open for them to still travel and be accommodated in Cape Town? I would also like to find out, why is the NCOP sitting here when that chamber has not been affected by a fire, as far as I know? Thanks.
Okay. The fourth one. Yes. The guest. Okay. I don't think we have the number yet, because we are still capturing the number of guests that will be coming together with accompanying the members of Parliament.
Thank you so much. Peter Malamani, Kaya News.
Yes.
Secretary, is there a date when will Parliament be completed, the refurbishing or the repair, after the announcement that 58 million rand has been spent on this? But on Parliament, the old Parliament, when is it going to be reopened? Is there a date? And then secondly, an update on the MK Party. Are members coming or not? Have they issued notice to Parliament that they are not attending? Just clarity on that. Thank you.
Okay. I think that was the last question, but I see Andisiwe still has additional question.
Sorry, it's just a quick one. Are members of the public, will they be accepted? Will there be tickets, or is it just the invited guests that are allowed to come tomorrow?
Okay. That was you want to be the last one? Yeah, oh, I thought your hand was up. Oh, okay. Okay. So that was the last round. Thank you very much, STP.
So thank you very much. I would share the responses with Mr. Klaso, and Advocate Pindela will respond on the issue of NCOP, save to reinforce the distinction on ordinary sittings in a house that is conducive for such sitting versus the event that would be unfolding today and tomorrow. I mentioned earlier on that this also involves a lot of processes that ordinarily in the City Hall you would not. And if you look at NCOP, what its size is, the voting processes, that must also, you also need to look at that reality in terms of the conduciveness. So the Secretary of NCOP would further elaborate on the NCOP question. The issue of voting procedure, how it will be done, who will read the winners, I'll ask Mr. Klaso to indicate on that issue. The cancellation of logistics, was it done or not done by Parliament in regards to members of MK Party? Indeed, Parliament communicated on the 7th of May to members where we received correspondence from the party that says we are not attending the event for reasons that they have advanced. And Parliament responded to acknowledge that communication, and likewise indicated that as per your advice that you are not attending, Parliament will accordingly prevent incurrence of wasteful and fruitless expenditure, which Parliament is required in terms of the Financial Management of Parliament and Legislatures Act to ensure that it proactively acts to prevent that. So that communication indeed sends that response to the party concerned. But what it means is that that was the communication. If Parliament received a communication that says we are attending, Parliament would ensure it activates booking for members of parties. So it is not a choice of Parliament to prevent members to come. No, it is a plan of Parliament not to enable members to come. So on correspondence that advises Parliament communication, we are attending, Parliament will activate respective members to be able to attend, taking into account all logistical implications. So we are keen to receive all members by today to make sure that tomorrow proceedings run smoothly. We're not running up and down before the proceedings at 10. So we would encourage all parties to be able to be present in line with the list that must be sworn in by tomorrow to constitute properly all proceedings. How many guests will be coming? Like we said, we will be able to see guests as they come, but this is distinct from SONA, where you will have invitations of former heads of state and all of those. This is the first sitting of the House, both houses rather. Then there will be requests by guests. We may not have that stats now to say how many guests. What we do know is that for purposes of members of Parliament, in line with the formula that allocates for parties, there is expectation that they will bring guests. So we have allocated 50 guests that will be distributed proportionally to political parties to be able to have their guests as members of Parliament. Is there a date for the completion of Parliament building? If there's one thing that Parliament has done is to regularly communicate and updates members of the media on the timelines involved on the refurbishment of Parliament, the timelines involved on the rebuilding of the gutted buildings of Parliament. So we have been outlining that. We envisage that by 2026, by April, we would have concluded the reconstruction of a completed new building of Parliament. We have recently outlined the design models for the building, and there's work currently taking place in terms of the demolition, which we announced a contractor in May, at the first week of May, to start the demolition part. So that work will be completed as we envisage by September, so that a new contractor can then be announced to be able to undertake the work that it must assume its work by early January next year, the actual reconstruction process of the new building. So we shall keep you updated all the time around this matter. The issue on the update of MK tickets, I have covered the logistical issue. Should there be any other matter, my colleagues will respond, and I will invite Mr. Klaso to deal with the voting. He's drawing my attention on something that he is controlling me on. So in terms of the political parties, as of this morning, we have received indication from concerned political parties, meaning there are 3 procedures involved in replacement of members. There will be a member who is supposed to assume his or her seat, but indicates that I am no longer available to take that seat. So each party has got a list that we have received from IEC, and that party shall have secured, for instance, 10% of the vote. That translates into 28 seats or whatever the number is. So member X is not available, is member number 14 in that 28 list party. Then the process draws itself in. Number 14 not available, number 15 becomes number 14, and number 29 becomes 28. So that is the vacancies that must be filled, and that will happen in the ordinary course of filling vacancies for the entire 5 years. In the life of Parliament, there will be people leaving, whether they demise or they are moved elsewhere. That process indicates. In the same life of 5 years, you would have people in a party that might have 3 or 5 names, and that party list may be exhausted as a list. So there's a process to supplement the list, where members will be able to say, our list is exhausted, we must now supplement. That procedure is also enabled, and those who have not been sworn in will be sworn in as time goes on. Like I indicated, as of this morning, we have received communications from various parties regarding both supplementation and filling of vacancies, totaling about 20 members already this morning, where there's been instances of filling of vacancies or supplementing. The following changes have been made to the party list. For instance, the MK party, 7 members, the EFF, 10 members, Action SA, 1 member, DA, 1 member, and the UDM, 1 member. So you could see that it affects all parties and is in accordance with the rules that guide the replacement either by filling or supplementation. Thank you very much.
Mr. Klaso said that I must adjust the microphone down. Because we don't want to be discriminatory against the vertically challenged.
Just keep pushing it down. All right, regarding voting, firstly, I think we should indicate that the rules applicable are the rules of the Chief Justice tomorrow. That is for the swearing in of the members, should be the first item, and the election of office bearers. That will be the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and the President. So once members are sworn in, which we think will be taken in groups of 10 to the extent possible, we will then proceed to the election of office bearers, starting with the Speaker. So the procedure is as follows. There will be nominations. So there will be someone that nominates, and that nomination must be seconded. And the nominated person must accept the nomination, must be completed properly. And of course, Chief Justice must satisfy himself that it's been completed correctly. If there is no contestation, obviously the person nominated is declared elected. But if there is contestation, we will then break for voting. Why do we break? Because we must print the ballot papers. You can't print the ballot papers before you get people nominated. So ballot papers are only printed once you get the nominated individuals. It's going to take us about 45 minutes to print the ballot papers. And the voting itself, I think combined, the printing of the ballot papers and the actual voting should be about 2.5 hours. We hope it won't be beyond that. And of course, that will be overseen by the Chief Justice. We have ballot booths ready, ballot boxes ready. Once that is done, we then remove all the voting material, well, the ballot papers in the ballot boxes, to a counting room. The counting, of course, which will involve the returning officer, but again, presided over by the Chief Justice. So Chief Justice will be present there as we count the votes as the returning officers. Come back, once that process is completed, the Chief Justice then announces the outcome in specific terms. So, so many people voted, so many votes were spoiled, and candidate so-and-so got 100 votes, candidate so-and-so got 50 votes. The issue of elimination has been explained, so I won't go back there. Yeah, so that is the procedure in terms of voting, and I think that answers the question. Of course, the person who obtains the majority of the votes cast is the person that is elected. So, of course, the vote cast will be valid votes. That will not include the spoiled votes. That's it. Thank you.
As I'm inviting the Secretary of the National Council of Provinces to also come forward, may I apologize, colleagues, that we have to let the Secretary leave because he has to receive the Deputy President who is about to arrive now. So if we can allow him to take leave, as I invite the Secretary of the National Council of Provinces to come forward.
Thank you very much. I just want to deal first with the voting in the National Council of Provinces. I know that the focus is on the National Assembly, but the National Council of Provinces is also sitting on Saturday, and they will also be voting there. As indicated, the provincial legislatures are sitting at the same time as the National Assembly to enable them to designate permanent delegates to the National Council of Provinces. In the National Council of Provinces, the voting would be for the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, as well as the deputy chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. In the National Council of Provinces, as the Secretary has indicated, each province has 10 representatives, and the voting in the National Council of Provinces in this instance for the chairperson and the deputy chairperson would be along the provincial lines. So each province will have one vote. So for the vote to carry the day, you should have at least 5 votes. So the person who would be nominated and who would receive 5 votes or more than 5 votes would be a duly elected chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. That will also apply insofar as the deputy chairperson is concerned. So unlike in the National Assembly, it's not individual votes, it's votes in terms of the provinces. So we will have 9 votes, unlike in the National Assembly where we would have individual votes. Why the National Council of Provinces is not sitting in its house? Because the house was not affected. Indeed, we had intended that the National Council of Provinces should sit in its house, and it would have been ideal for us at least to have the sitting of the National Council of Provinces in its house, because that would properly orientate its own delegates in their house. But unfortunately, you know that building was built in 1800 or so. It's a very old building. There are still some repairs that needs to be done in the National Council of Provinces, and that is why we are not sitting in that house. Otherwise, we would have preferred to sit in the National Council of Provinces so as to properly orientate the permanent delegates as well as the special delegates in the House. And in addition to the 90 representatives from the provinces, just for the sake of completeness, we also have 10 representatives of organized local government. Those 10 representatives of organized local government can participate in the proceedings of the National Council of Provinces, can ask questions, but they do not have the right to vote, precisely because they belong to municipal councils. So that is how the National Council of Provinces is constituted. I know that sometimes it is a house misunderstood. It is a house that is not properly understood. It's normally compared to the National Assembly, but it has its own proceedings, it has its own processes, it has its own voting procedures, it has its own voting processes. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Advocate Pindela. I thought that we agreed that we are closing. Is there some agent question that has since? I think the STP dealt with that one. The attendance of the members of the public. Yeah. Because the ACP said that the one that we normally reserve for the members of the public is the State of the Nation address and others. But we have received some of the requests that we are attending to from members of the public. But we do have representatives of various stakeholders, guests of members, and so on and so forth. I think in closing, to state that, as I said this afternoon, the Chief Justice will be administering oath and affirmation for the returning officers who will be acting as electoral officers for the voting in both the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. It's a very important occasion, but we will have only space for photographers and TV cameras for that, and we'll inform you, for those who are interested, on the WhatsApp group and the other platforms, so that you can capture that as it happens. Yeah, we will there. Both sittings are starting at 10 in the morning. There is a limited number of journalists that we are working with the Parliamentary Press Gallery Association to determine who will be accepted or admitted in the chamber. And then others will be, there is a space, a media center, where you will have the screen and everything, and then you will see everything that is happening in the main chamber. But we will communicate all the details on the WhatsApp group and other platforms. I think we are done. Thank you very much, colleagues, for your attendance. The press briefing is adjourned.